Hello, it's Nadine here, and I'm here with this week's episode of Life, Health, and the Universe. And this week I'm joined by my guest, Maria Vamvouklis. Hello, Maria.
Hi, Nadine.
Now, I was just doing the life things, hanging out the washing before before our call, and I was like, how long have I actually known Maria? We go back a
Oh,
fairly long way, and I reckon it was pre-kids, so that's going on like 10 years plus.
mm-hmm.
So you and I first met each other when you came to train in our gym in Sydney back in the day. And we've kind of had like, I guess, we see each other and then we don't see each other and we see each other again. And then you popped up, I saw you on Facebook. We were part of a business women's network together. And so, yeah, we've kind of kept in touch that way. And then I saw a post of yours last week or the week before, and I was like, there's some things in there I want to talk to this woman about. I'm going to invite her onto the podcast. So welcome. Thank you for accepting my invitation. And I'm going to hand over to you so you can do an intro of yourself, because I haven't actually introed anything about you. So you can do that. And then we'll get stuck in.
Sure. My name's Maria Vamvouklis. I am a business performance coach. I'm also an NLP trainer, hypnosis trainer, naturopath, and I've got a background in holistic health as well as behavioural therapy as well. My business, I founded the Conscious CEO as well as a training school called the Conscious Awakening School. And all of those things encompass both mind, body, and soul in assisting people in their own transformational journey.
Just a small job. So, Maria, if you don't, we're going to have a lot to talk about. I have no doubt that we are going to, there's so many different things that we could talk about, but I'm going to use I've already asked for your approval for this, to read out some of the posts that you shared, because although you've been talking, you introduce yourself, and the main thing that you seem to do, and I've been following you on socials for a while as well, is that NLP, which is neurolinguistic programming, right?
Yes, that's right.
And you you talk a lot about helping entrepreneurs get over imposter syndrome and that sort of stuff. So like a lot of deep kind of mental, emotional mindset blocks, right?
Yeah.
And then this post popped up about you being a naturopath, and I was like, "Ooh, this is interesting." She's changed her job, but you haven't. So that, I think that's interesting in itself. So let me read out before we go on part of your post. So you said, after becoming a practitioner and opening your clinic in 2009, natural medicine and remedies have always been run deep in your blood, your heart, and your soul. You still love holistic medicine and have kept your clinic work behind the scenes while shining the light on your NLP coaching and training business. Clients to this day still approach you for treatments. However, you haven't advertised it. And then you go on to say, I've never shared what happens in my personal life, as I've been through a lot, and I've kept most of it private, as I'm not one to play a victim of circumstance, and I value maintaining the integrity of my career. The last 20 years have been a ride of realizing that my traumas and wounds are my medicine, my remedy, my therapy. They say only when one reaches 40, they then start to mature. I never got this, but I understand now that we experience life's turmoils and traumas to really unravel who we are to become, what we are meant to be here for. And okay, so for all the modalities, I'm going to just keep reading to the end. I was just seeing how it was going. For all the modalities that have that you've learned: naturopathy, herbal medicine, homeopathy, nutrition, NLP, hypnotherapy, counseling, timeline therapy, you would not be here today. They've saved your life. Had you not gone through what you've been through, you don't think you could have done the work that you do. Okay, so that's okay, let's finish with this. I can't miss this bit out, because this is a really good topic for conversation. all my wounds are gifts, and it takes time, an open heart, an open mind, and courage to heal thyself.
Absolutely.
Wow. So we have got a whole bunch of things in there. And as I said before we hit record, that post is life, health, and the universe all rolled in there. And they're all the things I like talking about because they are so deeply interconnected.
Absolutely.
And I really love that you have now kind of decided, well, I don't know if it's been a conscious decision, but it seems to be that you've gone, hang on a minute, I'm a naturopath and I can help people heal in the health space as well as in that emotional healing space, and that they are actually interconnected. And I have thought that in my work as well, like so much of the stuff that you do when you're a personal trainer and you're coaching people with their physical body is the emotional stuff and the emotional blocks that they come up against. And yeah, but also the fact that when people are healthy, I think that mentally and emotionally we can tap into that deeper subconscious because we're clear-headed. And so yeah, they definitely are intertwined. So
Absolutely.
yeah. All right, where should we start? All right, multiple jobs. Let's start with multiple jobs because I know that this is a thing, right? And I'm kind of coming to grips with it as a I'm actually nearly 50, but from between 40 and 50 there's been this big change. And by the way, you haven't said very much yet. I'm doing all the talking. This is about you and I'm just the one doing all the talking. But what was I going to say? Yeah, now I've lost
job transition.
Oh yeah. And so I've over time come to the realization that it's actually okay to do multiple things and be multiply talented and but it's kind of frowned upon.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one thing I had to, I think, in my mind, get over because for the last 10, 15, almost 20 years now, actually, I've kind of saw myself as a jack of all trades, and I kind of keyholed myself into that and not really going, okay, well, if I'm a jack of all trades, I can't be a master of one specific thing. But now as I've matured into my career, I would say that you can have skill sets in various different areas, but you have your own unique gift in how you deliver that skill set. And that's the mastery of that skill in one package, rather than going keyholing yourself and saying, I'm a naturopath and this is all that I do. Hence why that post came about, was because I had been contemplating, because I was like, I have all this knowledge, I have all this skill set, and people are asking me, questions recently. And I was like, well, do I bring that back in and go, hey, this is what I do, actually, not just this one thing, which is NLP and hypnosis. So I decided in the last 6 months to actually bring that back in and go, you know what, I actually do work holistically, both body, mind, and, spirit as well. So it's kind of like looking at someone and getting the complete package, rather than just looking at one modality and treating one specific problem one way only. And being able to overcome this jack of all trades, I think that's where you have to let go of that belief and be okay with what you do and who you are and how you deliver those gifts and those services to people, to be able to know that you can help them. Doesn't matter, depending on, you do A, B, C, and D to do that. And that's kind of how that's come about in terms of me moving forward and advertising it, let's say, and putting it back out there to let people know, well, actually, this is what I do. And if you're interested, I can also do this with you as well. And it's funnily enough, because with my clients, when I'm working with them, they'll come to me for business advice and ask me about this. And then they'll start saying, oh, but I feel burnt out. I'm feeling run down and my health and this and that. And then I'll tell them from a naturopathic perspective, because I have the qualifications and I am a naturopath, actually, this is what you can do. So they already get that without them really knowing that that's what's happening a lot of the time.
Yeah, cool. It's so good. I do think, because I mean, you've obviously done a lot of personal, development work yourself, but have you found it that there is like a perception where people are like, well, what is it you do then? Or not really? And do you find it hard to explain?
Sometimes, depending on the person that I'm talking to, I kind of establish where they are, what their thinking is, what their understanding of it is, in order to articulate it in a way that comes across to them in their language, rather than me just telling them what I do. And then I'm like, they're glazed over because they're like, I have no idea what you do. But I think it's about opening up that conversation and asking them questions, and then them questioning themselves to create their own understanding of what exactly it is.
Yeah, sure. You kind of touch on in that particular post that your own life experiences are kind of like they've been let's say the fertile soil for your work to grow, right? So you're at a place now in your 40s where you kind of go, oh, that's what that was all about. Are there any sort of standouts or things that you've kind of gone, oh, that's why I did that? Or
look, I've never always been in the I guess the mindset development, personal development, hence why I got into naturopathy first, and then I went and became a PT as well, and studied fitness and did all of that, and then brought those two together. And I was like, hang on a sec, people are still coming to me with the same problems, but just in a different way. And then I was like, okay, there's something mental, emotional that's going on that's triggering body responses and certain behaviors. So just to sidestep and backtrack a little bit more, when I was young, I was kind of like what they call a square peg in a round hole. And I knew from a young age that I just did not fit in, because I questioned everything. I come from a religious family, very cultural, strong cultural base. And even then I was like, hang on a sec, this isn't quite right. This doesn't fit right. And a lot of beliefs and a lot of ways, I guess, cultural, were instilled in me from a young age, even though I knew that that wasn't true to me. And I still was like, something doesn't feel right. So I had that intuition from a very young age in knowing that I was this square peg in a round hole growing up. And moving forward, being as I was growing up, I was labeled with having learning difficulties. I was medicated, and I was not ostracized, but in my culture, it was more of shunned and not spoken about, because it was abnormal. So that kind of drove me, even from like, 7, 10, 15, all of those years, to stand my ground in being an individual, knowing that that was not actually true. It was not the truth. And I knew that from a very young age. And that's what drove me into studying naturopathy, because I knew that there was another way, a different way in why things were like this. So I went and studied natural medicine, natural health, and then I became a vegetarian as well, to help with brain development and enhance brain function. And that was a journey within itself, because I learnt that you can try and control yourself, like with food, in how you eat, but not necessarily control the environments and the environment that influences your body that you're in. So it was understanding how I could master my internal capabilities and biological, changes to be able to enhance what's actually outside of me. But that wasn't necessarily true, because everyone has their own sets of belief systems. And I was in a process of creating my own set of beliefs in health specifically, but also as an individual as well. And this brings in the component of really understanding your own mindset, emotional structures, and how you think, and your belief systems. And it doesn't matter if you come from a cultural family or a religious family and they've got their sets of beliefs. It's about an individual developing their own individuality. And my journey of that was through my own health journey, and being able to overcome certain health conditions. I had massive gut issues. I was allergic to dairy, gluten, still have sensitivities, but it was so much more exacerbated that it was triggering other health conditions in my body as well, autoimmune conditions as well. So I was like obsessed with natural health. I would study, research it, and I ended up becoming a naturopath and opening my own clinic. And even then, I still thought there was a piece missing from the whole puzzle. I was like, it's got to be something else. So I went and studied fitness. I was like, oh, well, if I, master your physical body, your strength, and how you feel, that might be the missing piece. And when I was consulting and working with clients back then in the fitness industry, as well as combining naturopathy, they'd come back to me with the same problems, or they'd have a relapse because of some specific event that would happen in their lives. And the same thing would happen with me in my life during that journey as well. I'd be good for a period of time, and then I'd experience some traumatic event or some trauma, whether that be in my career or whether that be in family relationships or even personal relationships as well. I'd have massive gut problems again, migraines, headaches, breaked out skin, and all of those sort of things. So I knew there was something deeper that needed to be addressed, and that kind of led me into the whole NLP side of things.
Wow. So you were sort of seeing patterns in your own life and in the life of your clients,
yeah,
like it,
absolutely.
and it's like, well, what is the missing piece of this puzzle? Why are these people not getting fitter? Why do they keep relapsing? God, that's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because and I guess you're having your own experience, which I think is like an interesting thing, because we do generally teach what we're trying to learn ourselves, right? What we're trying to integrate ourselves. But being a coach from the outside, it can quite often be much easier to sort of see the patterns of someone else's thing, but to sort of tap into it and help them explore it. How easy is that? Like you became an NLP practitioner. Maybe tell us a little bit about what that entails. So
Sure.
neuro-linguistic programming, right?
Yep. So neuro-linguistic programming, there's 3 components to that. Neuro, which is neurology. So we work on the nervous system. So you may have heard people who have an overactive nervous system, and we've got to calm it down. So we work with neural pathways in reprogramming them. So through beliefs, thought processes, and structures, by using linguistics, which is the linguistic aspect of it. So we use language and language patterns, hypnotic language patterns, to reprogram someone's mind and belief system. Now, in saying that, you don't have to have a problem to reprogram your mind. You can actually reprogram it to enhance what you already have that is working well. And a lot of people think NLP is just fixing things when it's not just fixing things. We take someone on a journey and we guide them to be able to enhance where they are, so as they can be a better person, but also, you know, operate at their highest potential, in other words.
Yeah. So would you say that someone, like, because I've kind of heard different things, and I've followed Dr. Joe Dispenza a fair bit, and I know he's more meditation rather than NLP. But one of the things that he talks about is like almost needing to shut off from that, you know, our everyday thoughts and feelings. And is that what the hypnosis part, where that comes in, like helping someone to down regulate so that you can give them those that language based stuff that will, I guess, is it like affirmations or like?
That's a great question, actually. I get this a lot. Affirmations is great as long as the person has the neurology to adopt those words into their belief system. So they have to have the belief system first in order for it to be exercised and grow as they say those affirmations every day. Whereas things like hypnosis, you can do hypnosis in the waking state, just as what we're doing now in having a conversation with someone. It's not necessarily just through meditation. And the way in which we do that is we bring awareness to what the person is not aware of. So the idea is uncovering what is blocking them. Bringing awareness to that. Creating a new belief that they adopt themselves, rather than us just simply installing it, and then expanding that so it becomes true to them and true to their identity.
Sure. So like, because what I was thinking with the affirmations thing, and the what Joe Dispenza sort of says is, if you've got an affirmation, and this kind of goes along with what you've just said, if you've got an affirmation, you know, I'm beautiful, I love myself, but then there's that other voice in the back of the head going, no, you don't. You're bad at this. Who do you think you are to even say it, right? Then it's really just drawing your attention away from the I love myself, I'm beautiful, and closer to all of the things that you actually haven't uncovered.
You know what, Nadine, that it's better for someone to do something than nothing. So if that's what they do by themselves, then that is a great thing, because eventually that voice will start to shrink. However, if there are deep unconscious beliefs, that programs that are running, it may come back. So it's a matter of having the awareness to go, okay, there it is again. I will continue saying my affirmations. I'm beautiful, until it continues to go.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff, isn't it? Like, it's just, you have to be quite open-minded, I think. If the baddie's too noisy, it could be pretty hard. All right. So I'm going to, I've gone through, been stalking you on your Facebook. And I just thought it'd be really cool to go through some of the things that you've written and just talk about them.
Sure.
And I'm curious, because I guess because they came up, a lot of the things that I saw came up after I'd read your initial post that I read out at the beginning. And I was like, oh, I wonder how much of this is like you processing your own experience, or whether like you are totally processed and is that a thing?
I don't know. When you know, let me know.
Okay, so let's start with this one. Be true to yourself, because there are only a few people that will stay true to you. Was that about you?
No. Well, yeah, it's a belief that I believe.
Do you feel like that's like, because it almost sounds like you've been hurt, and that you can't trust everyone, or Be true to
No, not
yourself. No.
be true to yourself. What I mean by that is only you know yourself as well as you do, no one else. And only anyone else that tries to interpret who you are is simply looking at you through their
Their
own lens.
lens. Yeah.
That's all that
Yeah.
is. And if someone else believes something about you that doesn't ring true to you, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true for you. Only you know who you are, and that's it.
That's hard, isn't it? That's
It
really
can
hard.
be sometimes. I think, and family and friends are probably the ones that can tell you who you are, or try to tell you who you are based on their own lens. And their lens is simply their values, their beliefs, and their own limitations that they hold for themselves in their own identity. And if you take on someone else's beliefs, you adopt someone else's belief systems, which isn't aligned to the truth of who you are.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
what I mean by that. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's good advice. Can I ask you, before we go on to another one, have you resolved, did you feel like you needed to resolve stuff with your family based on your experiences as a young person?
Yeah, I had a number of different things and experiences, events in my past, in my childhood, even as an adult, that I've had to deal with. And I've worked with a coach. I still work with a coach, and I continue to do that to work on other areas. At the moment, I'm working closely with a coach in a spiritual aspect, and expanding consciousness. So there are things that come up with family, and if you have resolution on those things will not trigger you anymore. And that's how I am with my family.
Yeah.
It's like coming in and seeing them from a different perspective and going, oh yeah, that's just how they are. And if that was to trigger me, then that would be something that I would need to look at and go, okay, I need to work on that.
Yeah, cool. Did you talk to your family about any of this stuff, or has it been all sort of an internal personal process for you?
I would say my family have been aware in terms of what I have been working on, but in terms of the depth of how it has impacted my life, I've worked on that myself.
Yeah.
I don't think it's their responsibility to take that on for themselves. Only a person can take responsibility for themselves in working and resolving those things. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Okay. Because you talked about triggers and things that trigger you, I think that's a really important point, and very interesting. And one of the posts that you, it might have been a podcast that you did yourself, actually, unlock your success by using your triggers as a compass.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess that's exactly what you were just saying. If there's something that bugs you and you are just stewing in it, you're like,
I
all
always
right,
say,
this is the thing.
You see, your triggers, like, they're like the mud that you see in the garden. If a garden was to get muddy, and if you were to weed it and clear it and put new soil down, there's gold in that. And that's what I mean by you use them for your own success, because they end up becoming a resource rather than a trigger in your life.
Can you give it do you ever any sort of examples of what that might look like?
Sure. So I'm just trying to think of a personal one that I've used.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah.
The reason I asked you is because I think if someone hears an example, they might go, oh, that might give them a sense of
sure.
But I guess anything, like any relationship, like brother, sister, sisters, mother, daughter, you know, if there's something that bugs you about them, like you said, like you can kind of dig around and go, what actually is it?
Sure.
Yeah. Is that
So with my family, my mum specifically, my mum is total opposite to me. She loves to be around people. She's very social. She wants to be in everybody else's business. And if you need to know something about someone, you go to her. She's in like social community groups.
okay?
She's in
Yeah.
charge of those and those sort of
Those
things.
kind of people are very important.
If you're into astrology, she's very Gemini. So
Okay.
yeah,
My
she
mum's a
loves
Gemini too.
communicating. She
Oh
loves
yes,
like
yeah, yeah.
information.
That is
Yeah,
totally my
yeah.
mum. Yeah.
So her and I are very different to that. And in the past, I used to get really triggered by her going off on a tangent and talking about other people. I'm very intrapersonal. I very much care about myself and the people that are close to me. And I'd go to her a lot of the time and I'd say, hey, how you going? And she'd start talking about Sally and Greg and Bob and Bill and all these other people that that I don't really know who they are personally and what they're doing. So that would really annoy me. That would really affect me because
Mm,
I used to take it as though, well, I'm not worthy enough to to have a conversation, a deep conversation with her. So that it would affect me in terms of my own worthiness.
mm,
So I would avoid going to her and having a conversation with her based on my own, my belief that she doesn't really care because she doesn't have the time to spend time with me. Now I go there and I listen to her stories, I take them on, and I actually use those stories and I bring them back to her and I ask questions about her and what she's doing and how she's doing in those situations.
mm,
So I've learned strategies in being able to navigate those things. And because I see her through a different lens, it enables me to do those things much more efficiently. Whereas before I used to get angry and hurt and, have all the emotions come up and all of those sort of things. So I guess being able to address that has helped me develop a different relationship with her.
mm.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, isn't it? Like the whole family dynamic thing. Like I've got kids and I've tried to I think they say like every generation kind of evolves.
Mm.
But just how we do have like we don't necessarily treat our parents or our siblings like we would our friends or someone else like and often it's not it's like we're not very civil to each other, are we? It's like I wouldn't talk to
Mm.
someone who I didn't know like that, but it's almost like the deeper the connection, the more you think that you can just say whatever you bloody want.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know what
true.
that's
And also,
about.
I think it's also because with our family, they're the ones that had imprinted on us between the ages of 0 to
Mm,
7. So
yeah.
think of it like a power line. It may have been a wire when you were younger, but your parents have created this massive bundle of wires. And hence why you don't respond the same way with your friends because you have different neural pathways
Yeah.
in those thought
Okay.
processes with them.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. All right. To understand your life's purpose is to know how to master your shadow.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So earlier you mentioned how the little person on the back
Yeah.
saying
Okay.
those negative things,
Yeah.
that's the ego trying to trump you and trying to push you down and keep playing small, which a lot of people tend to not, they're not aware that it's there and they
Mm,
just run with it. They take that and they're like, oh, well, that has to be true. That's what's happening. So the idea with what I do is have developing that awareness to go, okay, I hear these thoughts, these negative thoughts. The ego is trying to take over. And it's a matter of addressing the ego. And what we call is when you have an identity shift and you transition into a different identity, the ego dies and a new ego emerges. The idea is not to kill the ego. The idea is to create a healthy ego. And this is one thing I tell parents that have children, because you'll see kids as they grow older, they'll start to push the boundaries and start to rebel and throw tantrums and those sort of things, is because their ego is developing. And it's a matter of nurturing it and developing a healthy ego and going, yeah, that's there. How can I use that to my advantage rather than it controlling me?
Okay, so your ego is your shadow, essentially.
Yes.
Okay. And how does that, mastering that, how does that help to understand your life's purpose? And what do you, when you say life's purpose, is that in terms of like career, or can it be more simple, as in
Life's purpose.
world voyager?
What are you here in this lifetime to do? It might simply just be a mum for this life.
Yeah.
It might simply be to have
travel the world.
Yeah, travel the world, be an influencer, whatever it might be. What is your purpose? What fulfills you? What is your why? And why do you do what you do, essentially? And it doesn't necessarily have to be career. Obviously, with people that I work with in business, majority of the time it's to do with that. So with mastering your ego, it prevents you from playing small in those areas. It prevents you from stopping yourself to be able to fully expand and express who you are in whatever that might be, being a mum, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, whatever that might be. Because the ego protects, it's all about survival, and it'll do everything it can to keep you there. So it's a matter of understanding what your strengths and what your weaknesses are, and then integrating those to create an identity of authenticity, and using that to drive you forward. And when people do that, it actually accelerates the results in creating what you're wanting to create, whether that being a mum, it might be to have a full life plan of having X amount of kids and bringing them up, or it might be, someone having a full empire. It doesn't really matter at all.
Okay. So what was I going to say? Yeah, it's kind of like a safety mechanism, isn't it? That was built in like thousands of years ago to kind of like go, if you go in that direction, there might be a lion and you could get killed.
Yeah.
But the things that we have in today, the voices, or that kind of ego voice,
negative self-talk,
that self-talk is really like quite irrational.
Absolutely,
when it comes to our safety.
At times, it can be.
Yeah. Cool. Not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Be yourself and carry on.
Yes. So your journey is your own personal experience, where you want to go, your voyage in this life, and you get to choose how you want to do that, who you want to do that with, and what it is that you're wanting to do. Just an example of that was when I was younger and I started. My parents have had businesses my whole life. I've watched them work like so hard to get to where they are. And I had this belief where I had to do the same. I had to work like a dog. My dad was working 7 days a week, like morning and night, to be able to create a lifestyle and a family and provide and all of those things. And I got to a point where I adopted that identity in having to do that, as well as having this expectation that my family wanted me to be able to do the same things in how they run a business as well. And I was just like, hang on a sec, this is not for me. It's either I'm in this or I'm out, because I can't continue doing this. It's just so exhausting. I was burnt out. And instead of being healthy, I was getting more sick. So that's just wasn't aligned to me. So being true to who you are in your own journey. No one else may not get it. Like my parents don't understand, or, even family and friends don't understand this, 4-hour working week sometimes, where people go, oh yeah, I just get up at 5 and I work till 9 and I do that 3 days a week and that's it. Like
Yeah.
sometimes that works for people, sometimes it doesn't, but it has to be aligned to you, and that's all that matters. People won't get what you do as long as it's aligned. There's alignment, and then you'll see that when you're in alignment, you get the results.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same with my dad, and it's interesting. I speak to my dad in the UK once a week, and he always says, "So, what have you been doing?" And I'm like, "Gardening." And like, there's a part of me that wants to kind of justify it because of that expectation of the dad, the dad working hard, and exactly what you just said. Like, life is hard, and you have to work hard to have the things. And I'm like, well,
not
I
quite.
haven't been doing anything. You've been working, yeah, a little bit. But...
yeah. Life's meant to be lived.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. I'll choose one more, and then I'm going to ask you about just a bit about like the shift, like from the 30s to the 40s, because I think that it's quite a big one. Hey, know that there is something. Okay. Believe in yourself and all that you are, and you've kind of touched on this quite a lot already. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle.
Yeah, self-belief, absolutely. Yep. Self-belief, that's what it comes down to. If you believe in it enough yourself, you can bring it to fruition, absolutely. But also the other thing is having that self-belief, but surrounding yourself with people that believe in you as well.
Yeah.
And that will enhance that support for you to bring that volition that you have in your self-belief to bring whatever it is that you're wanting to create.
Yeah. Okay. Believe in yourself. Yeah, I had a question and then it's gone. But let's talk about that transitional time. So I don't know if you mentioned astrology. I don't know if you follow it, and you've also mentioned that you're sort of delving into the more your spiritual growth and development. There definitely is a transitional period, and there's they say that like there's the first half of your lifetime, right, which astrologically can be kind of mapped, and then there's a shift to the second half, and like how your purpose changes, your purpose or your direction changes. And it's almost like the first half is about just figuring it all out, and the second half is like figuring it all out again.
Yeah,
picking the bits that you liked, but you probably need to like just be a little bit smarter about or something.
I like your logic.
Going, yeah, they will be good, but I need to use them in this way instead of that way. Or
yeah.
So what's your, do you mind me asking how old you are? Are you just 40?
I'm 41.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
41. What to remember that.
Can you, like, did you feel a shift, or has it been quite gradual and it's just now that you're like, oh wow, things feel different? Does it feel different, or is it like a natural evolution?
I felt a shift, like a change in terms of like career timeline, relationships, just maturity in oneself probably a few years ago. And that's kind of like, I was like, what is causing this? Where am I going? And then I was like, I thought, how can I find this out? And that kind of took me on learning about more like occult studies, esoteric studies, and learning about spirituality and astrology and those sort of things. And like last year when I turned 40, I was like, wow, I really get this. They call it the maturity of the soul.
Okay.
And that happens when you turn 40, essentially, because you've transitioned from, 0 to 18 and developing and becoming an identity, and then taking that identity for a test drive for like 10 years to see what works and what doesn't work, and then slowly really settling into your shoes. And then by the age of 40, it starts to feel like an old pair of shoes.
I reckon I'm 10 years behind. I reckon I'm only just starting to.
But you know what, Nadine,
like
everyone has their own journey.
Yeah.
Whether you're,
totally.
30, 40 or 50 or even 60, there's some people that are like 60 that are still like going, I actually know who I am now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's great. Better that you know now in this life than not at all. It's great that you take that time and, go on that journey, I think.
What has your in your sort of more spiritual journey, what would you say are like, what direction has that led you in? You said some esoteric. What else did you say? Witchcraft?
Occult studies, astrology,
occult studies.
Yeah. So just
witchcraft,
like the Hermetic studies and those sort of things. It's more like to do with like mystic studies and things.
Nice.
What things that have, I guess, ways of thinking that people don't normally think about. It's not your generic fits in a box with personal development, that there's more to that. And I think that it's a personal journey when you go on that. Astrology for me has been something that really resonates with me, and I love that. And I've been studying it for all of last year now. And I'm like, I really need to bring this in with my clients, in knowing what, their birth chart and those sort of things. And some of these, I guess, tools are not necessarily for everyone because they're not at that point in their journey. But it's a matter of how can I utilize that for myself and enhance my own journey in order to, bring that to the table if someone was to ask me about that.
Yeah, cool. We're getting close to my dog's hassling me, but that if you wonder why I'm leaning down. We're getting close to the end of our hour. I was just going to ask, so I just wanted to flag that. But what was I going to ask about so when you're in this process, okay, because you're obviously, you're teaching other people about it, but you're going through your own personal experience as well. How much time do you spend kind of like working on yourself compared to working with other people? Like when you're reading something or learning something new, are you thinking, I need to integrate this for myself, or do you think I can use this with others? Like, I'm just being nosy, really. I'm just curious. I'm a question asker too.
So everything that I've learned, I use that with my clients because I've tested and tried it for myself.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's new things that I've learned, say from a book or I've learned from a coach, I'll test that on myself before I implement that on someone else, because I want to have a complete understanding and comprehension of what the results are in order to know what results I'm going to get with someone else.
Yeah. When you say results, what do you mean?
The transformation.
Transformation.
So people come to
it.
me like they can't make a decision on something. They're having problems with decision making.
Yeah, sure.
I've overcome that myself. I understand that. I understand the structures and the strategies and what beliefs hold all of that together to know how to untangle that and help that person.
How often do people, like, this is quick fire questions, how often do people come to you because they feel like they're stuck in a like life-changing 40-year-old kind of way, and they're like, holy shit, I don't know what's going on. Is that, or is it more mindset and that sort of thing?
Well, that what you've just explained to me, being stuck in that 40-year-old shift, is partly mindset.
Yeah,
It's to do
okay.
with belief structures and systems,
Okay.
which needs to be looked at. The clients that come to me, they're all in business or it's in some sort of career.
Yeah.
And they're stuck in some way where they are, and it's preventing them from moving forward. They're either burnt out or they're stuck in a certain old identity. So I worked with a lady once who was a stay-at-home mum. She was a career woman, had kids, and then wanted to start her business. And she was stuck between shifting from that mum kind of identity into being this entrepreneurial businesswoman. So we really had to strip old belief structures down and create a new belief system for her that felt true to her, for her to step into.
Wow. So when you are working with someone like that, like, what's your process? Let's sort of, because we want to get people to, we direct people to you to find out more. But like, is it like you go, all right, 12 weeks and you're gonna be transformed? Or is it like person to person? Does it really depend on how stuck they are? Like, or do you have like a set thing that you do?
So for coaching specifically, for a full, like what I call an overhaul, what we go through this process called a breakthrough transformation process. And that process takes about 6 weeks in total.
Yeah.
They work with me for that 6 weeks quite intimately, where we communicate daily one-to-one through Telegram. There's 2 weeks of what we call pre-tasking. So I task them, which brings the self-awareness of what's happening within them, because most people are unaware in terms of their own inner emotional state. So 2 weeks of that. And then we spend in one session, either over 2 days or 1 day. It's a 12-hour day where we uncover it's a detailed persona history, uncover everything that's holding them back in that contextual area. So we work contextually. So if it's in business, we work in business about something specific. And then what we do is we remove all the limiting beliefs, negative emotions, realign their values, get them back into alignment, install a goal, and then set them off on their way to start taking action, right? Because 80% of what you change in your mind, you've got to make sure that you take action. And then there's 2 weeks coaching after that integrates that process. And that's kind of that period of time that we do that. Wow. Most of the time, most clients come back and they do ongoing coaching because they want that extra support afterwards.
Yeah. And you obviously have success with that because you've got a business.
Yeah. I believe, I work with clients to get results.
Great. And just as we close, speaking of purpose, what's your purpose? What do you feel your purpose is in this lifetime?
My purpose, I believe, is that I'm here to help others change and expand their own consciousness for them to see their highest potential, for them to make an impact in their way in this world.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. It's a pretty good job. Pretty important.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maria. I know I've kind of jumped all over the place because I just wanted to know all of the things.
No, it's all good.
And it's really cool. I think what you're doing is great, and really fascinating stuff. Really appreciate you taking the time to join me, and it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. I'll speak to you soon.
All right.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you. Bye.